One absolute fucking shambles. Oh, I'm just lost for words, really. So, as per usual, I'm going to go into one of these, like I always do, by sort of talking about how the game went. Then I'll talk about, things that happened during the game. Certain points I want to talk about the game. So, we looked quite strong on the, of the kickoff. We looked like we had the game quite wrapped up. From the beginning, we looked very confident going into it. And then, all of a sudden, around the 25th minute mark, maybe a bit earlier than that, we just started, I don't know what it was, we just started lacking. And performance started to sort of wane. I don't know why. It was sort of just like a spell that Olympiakos had, in possession, but it never ended. And players such as Coquelin, Cazorla couldn't do anything in the game. They just couldn't get hold of the ball. It was just abysmal. And then they went and scored that fantastic set piece. It was absolutely outstanding. When I first saw it, I was, angry that we conceded it, but what a goal to concede. So I'm saying, I know it was a deflection of Walcott, but still it was great strike, sort of really clever. Walcott obviously equalised, I think, about a minute or two later, which was fantastic. I thought, okay, back in this good, that's sort of good mentality. We're getting back into the game. That's what we need. And then come just basically the aids. It was absolutely woeful. A corner come in. Basically, Ospina rose like a salmon and decided, you know what, I've had enough playing for Arsenal, and decided to take the ball into his own net. Because, he could have punched that easily, but no, he tried catching it for some reason, which, is basic rules for a keeper. If you don't feel like you're going to be able to catch the ball from there, you gotta punch it out. But for some reason, he thought, you know what, I can catch this on my line, and obviously he fucked up. Ball went over the line, and we conceded. And from there on out, our game was basically over, because we went into half time. We come out second half. Look, basically the same team. Didn't have much. We should have changed half time. I think we should have brought Ozil off or Cazorla off, and I'll go into them a bit in a minute. But we ended up finally scoring then, literally in the 65th minute, and literally a minute later, Finn Bogson scored for them. Literally drove through our defence, the Olympiakos attack, tore us a new one, and basically made Sanchez's equaliser irrelevant. And it was just a shame, really, because we have players like Sanchez, and this isn't what he deserves. He's the only player on the pitch who sort of showed any sort of desire, and that was evident after, the third goal for Olympiakos went in, because he was the only one who tried, really, along with Aaron Ramsey, to be honest, which quite surprised me how decent Ramsey was when he came on, because I am very critical of him, and in that central role, obviously, he has done. He obviously, he's much better, which Wenger sort of needs to get into his fucking thick skull. Onto the sort of, the play analysis of the match. There's three players I sort of want to, talk about, key players who I think epitomised Arsenal's performance tonight. So the three are David Ospina, as you can probably guess why, Santi Cazorla, and Mesut Ozil. I'm going to start with the one I'm angriest at the most, and this might surprise you, but it's Mesut Ozil. And I will, say without hesitation that Mesut Ozil is not our best player of the club, contrary to popular belief. He's not our second best. He's not even in our top 5. I would say he's about 8th, 7th, maybe even lower than that. The performance he put in today, And you can argue as much as you want. Yes, he picks out really, fantastic passes. His vision's fantastic, and his sort of touch is really great. But then at the end of the day, that's, he's not living up to how much we paid for him. 42.5 million, and what have we got for 2 FA Cups? With that sort of money spent, you at least, want to be challenging for the league, which we have done for certain parts, but we're literally failing because I can't really fully blame him. I say, and people say, oh, he's been playing with Giroud all this time, but then that doesn't matter. He has other fantastic players around him to sort of set up. Sanchez, he has Cazorla, he has Ramsey, he has Ox. There's no excuse there isn't for him not to be performing up to his price tag. I feel like he's still living in a world where he thinks he's playing with the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, so he can be let off for a few mistakes. But at the end of the day, he's playing in the Barclays Premier League now. While people might argue it's not the best league in the world, I believe it is. I think it's the greatest league in the world. It is the place where the top quality players come. You will find no other league in the world that has as many top quality players anywhere. You can, Bayern Munich have fantastic players, so do Borussia Dortmund, and then the other teams have one or two, good individuals, but nobody has as many, top quality players as the Premier League does. And you can argue with me, and I'll sort of argue with you back if you like. But that's how I sort of see it. But Mesut Ozil is just, he's like bacteria, really, isn't he? He's just sort of like a plague. He's at the club and he's eating away at our wage budget, and he's not providing anything back. And as I said, you can argue the 2 FA Cups, but do 2 FA Cups and Community Shields really add up to 42.5 million? What we paid and what we expected of him, because we expected to be at least, a Premier League title in the bag. And I know you might argue, oh, it's not just Ozil, it's not a one-man team and so forth. No, but then 42.5 million is a pretty fucking hefty investment to make on a player, and you expect him to make a bigger difference than he has. And I'm just disappointed with him. He really needs to up his game, really. Be a bit more arrogant, or just, it seems like he has no passion for playing for the club, unlike players like Alexis, Coquelin and others show. It's just, he's pathetic, really, and I know a lot of people disagree, but he is very pathetic. On to my next player, Santi Cazorla, a player I still admire today. I still think he's a fantastic footballer, but it's been pretty abysmal this season so far. He's, shown a couple of glimpses of really, quality moments, but apart from that, what I really want to talk about with him isn't this sort of performance, and I won't say I know, but I think there is sort of, I have an idea of why he's been performing such a low standard in comparison to, previous seasons. That's due to Wenger basically handing him the, temporary captain armband. Obviously with Mertesacker not playing anymore, Gabriel coming in, and, Arteta on the bench, Cazorla's really the third choice captain, and he's being sort of left in this role where he can't just focus on his play anymore. He has to focus on everybody. He has to make sure everybody's mentality is in the game and so forth. And I think that's hindering his sort of quality, because he can't go out with the freedom that he usually does. And I don't think Cazorla is suited to be a captain. He's such, an influential figure in the dressing room, but apart from that, I don't feel like he's captain quality. You barely see him shouting around the pitch. Tonight was evident. I think it was one clip through the whole match, or one part through the whole match, where I saw him sort of trying to get the team together, and once I think he went up to the ref to complain about something and literally talked to the ref about it, and that's all. That was the one time. I believe somebody like, you can say I'm wrong, but I think somebody like Koscielny, who I think was fairly decent tonight, just unfortunate really to have to go off due to the injury. But somebody like he deserves it. Ramsey, I'd give it a shout. If he was to play at that central role, I think he could deserve it. He's captained Wales on several occasions, and they've done well under him. I'd even say Coquelin, to be honest, because that boy oozes passion, and also he would try to get players into shape. It's as evidence that he would probably, it would hinder his performance maybe, but then at the same time I don't think it would affect him that much, because he's already, acting like a sort of rogue captain, if you can say that. He's already, whenever, say, we lose the ball, he's the one who's shouting at the players. He's doing all the captain's work, basically, making sure the players are sort of, in line. And it's quite embarrassing when you have a player that young doing your job for you with all these experienced players on the pitch. The third person I want to talk about, fucking hell, a player up until, this game, I really, really did like. And you can argue, yes, he hasn't had that much game time, and yes, he's, every goalkeeper has a bad day. For last season, I was very sympathetic with Ospina, because I thought that he was a better goalkeeper than Szczesny, and Szczesny had a howler tonight, which sort of I won't say proves my point, but sort of backs up my point. But I think Ospina is a better goalkeeper than Szczesny. I think he did make a lot of mistakes last season, but then, he was very consistent in many of the games. What I did find with Ospina tonight, though, was that this is probably ended his Arsenal career. I think that after this game now, his game time is going to come down to a bare minimum. He's not going to... I don't think he'll play that many games for the rest of the season now. Pathetic, absolutely pathetic second goal to concede. He was so nervy, couldn't catch the ball, he kept on parrying it away. Easy situation, weak balls which he wasn't dealing with well enough. He wasn't getting the ball up the field fast enough to the players. He was dilly-dallying, just wasting time. He was pathetic. And I'm going to say this about the whole team, apart from two individuals, Sanchez and Ramsey. Everybody who played tonight were absolutely fucking pathetic. And it's as simple as that. You're playing against Olympiakos. Yes, they haven't, lost in the league yet. They also won their first Champions League game. No, they didn't, sorry. They lost against Bayern Munich, didn't they? And for some reason I thought they played Zagreb, who we played. But, we're up against Olympiakos, for fuck's sake, at home. We're Arsenal FC. We are supposed to be one of the biggest clubs in not just England, in the world. We're known throughout the world, and we're losing to fucking Olympiakos. It's embarrassing, it is. Especially when we've lost by 3 goals. We've conceded 3 goals with what you can argue is basically our first team. Apart from Monreal, who I think would have made a change there. I think Monreal playing today would have been very good, but I think he was out injured or he was on the bench. I'm not quite sure, I can't remember. I'll check now, actually. Yeah, he was on the bench, Monreal. I thought I saw him. But I think, obviously, he was resting a few players because the big game on the weekend against United. And here's a stat for you. We had 70% possession. 18 shots. 9 on target. Oh look, 2 goals. We're pathetic. We're absolutely pathetic. And there's no denying that. Something needs to happen. I don't think if this form carries on, Wenger will be gone at the end of the season, and I'll be happy. I'm not going to deny it. So at the end of the day, if this consistency, and it won't, we'll improve throughout the season, it's obvious. But say if this consistency was to carry on throughout the season, he won't be here at the end of the he won't be here at the end of it, because I think the fans will have had enough of it. And you can clearly see that if you go onto Twitter or any social media site tonight, that the fans are sick and tired of him making half-assed decisions, like he has Rest in Check, who clearly nothing wrong with him. He says has an injury, but you know, if he plays against United on the weekend, then what a fucking liar. What a liar. And I do, however, believe that not all of the blame lies in Wenger. It lies with the backroom staff. I think that ever since the likes of Pat Rice left, a lot of our backroom staff obviously left in recent years. We haven't brought in suitable, replacements. Steve Bold, I don't like him as an assistant manager. We need to get somebody better, I think. I would even go as far as to say somebody like Rene Meulenstein, I think that's how you pronounce his name, the former United one, would be better as an assistant manager than Steve Bold. We need to bring in, better backroom staff, obviously, because our players need a kick up the arse. If anything, we need a lot more aggression towards the players. We pamper them too much. I think we need to show them, basically, listen, you're getting paid 50k fucking plus a week. Go out there, give a performance, or not, we'll kick your teeth in. No, that's too aggressive. No, obviously not like that, but, if you don't do that, then I think there should be a sort of system in football where if the players do lose, then they won't, their wage budgets would stay the same. But then, say if they lose and the manager is dissatisfied with their performance or the board is, then they should be fined on their wages, because then it makes them work harder towards it. But obviously, a lot of people argue that this has a lot of negatives, but then at the end of the day, 20k or 50k is, they still get 30k a week at the end of the day. But then they'll obviously want to work harder because they don't want to carry on getting fined and getting less than what their contract says. And it is on their contract, they should earn that much, but should be a rule in football that players should sort of get a fine depending on their performance levels. And people say, oh, that's not fair and so forth, but at the end of the day, when you're getting paid that much, there's a certain expectation to be reached, to get to, like. So, Ozil's on 100k plus a week. Putting in performances like he does, he doesn't even deserve 20k a week. It's absolutely pathetic. It's pathetic. You can probably tell I'm just upset over tonight. And we have United at home on the weekend. If we can respond to this, it'll be a miracle. Obviously, we're going to have to... How can we respond? Drop Cazorla first, I think, just for this match. Put Ramsey in the centre with Coquelin, because Coquelin is, irreplaceable at the moment. Sanchez I would put up front, to be honest. I can't believe it's in it. Unless, I personally think we should drop Ozil, put Cazorla in the middle, attacking midfield. Give captaincy to somebody else. Put Walcott up front, Sanchez on the left, Ox on the right. Because there's no excuse for Ox now. You might be suffering from an injury for the last 2 years. Then, if that's the fact, you shouldn't even be playing first team football to start off with. You should be, it's just really annoying. The only way we can really respond against United at the moment, because they've been fantastic, is to basically show some, passion. But that's something that a lot of our players lack, and they're more than willing to go and pick up their paycheck. So what can we take out of this? Positives. Ramsey is obviously better suited to that central role. Sanchez is still our best player. Coquelin should, I think should be given a shout at, or Wenger should look at him for potentially being a future or current captain. Negatives, we need to get that. We need to get those sticks out of our arse. Basically, we need to stop acting like wazzocks when we go down. And we did respond quite well to the first goal, I will admit, but after that we were pathetic. We need to stop being so fragile, basically, and crumbling under the pressure. We need to sign, basically, about 4 other new players, and this is directed towards Mesut Ozil. Grow the fuck up and realise you're not in Real Madrid anymore. You're at Arsenal, and you should be putting better performances in and not treating us like a second-rate club. It's as simple as that. Thank you for watching, guys. You might disagree with a lot of my opinions, and that's fine. But it's just fucking pathetic, isn't it?